Hi everyone, and welcome to Safari Live. My name's Hayden Turner, and welcome to South Africa. Really beautiful afternoon. We've just had a massive downpour here, and we didn't think we were going out. We had everything prepared for broadcasting to you undercover. But then the rains are sort of clear. We've got this beautiful colour in the background here. The storm seems to be passing that way. There's a real sort of sense of freshness in the air. It was a big downpour, and we've been blessed with this little break. So I hope. I had a sleep in this morning. It was a little bit tricky. I heard the guys go at about 5 o'clock. And then I sort of dozed back to bed, and then I knew they were out on drive, so I sort of woke up and I caught the last sort of half hour of Scott's drive, so that was really great to see him as well. Right, moving on. We're going to head down this way. We're going to go to Treehouse Dam, just to see if that hippo's there, and see what else is there. We'll drop in at Twin Dams as well. Then we'll head over to Arathusa and go to find where we saw that hippo yesterday and see how he's getting on. And then we'll sort of carry on a little bit around here and look for leopard. Again, one of the great things about today is that the rain has obliterated all the old tracks, and we're out here probably 35-40 minutes after that rain, so any tracks that we do see will be fresh. It's a really great time to go out tracking. This is the best time directly after the rains where you've got fresh tracks. So that's great. Everything's good. If you've got any questions for us, please send us questions to questions@WildEarth.tv, and then you can also tweet us at #SafariLive. So anything you want to ask us, please send away, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we possibly can. We've got Will back in the control room, Alex, Peter, not Peter Pretorius, but Peter Bratt, and Pete and Brian are out somewhere. I'm sure they're going to catch up with you just now. So let's get on our merry way. Great to have you on board. Welcome to everyone, particularly our new people on the safari with us. If you've just joined us for your first or second time, absolutely brilliant. Welcome aboard. We hope you join us more regularly. And for all our regular participants, welcome back, and great to have you with us again. There's a lot of frolic going on around here. When I just looked, I'm not sure if it's still happening, but the youngsters, after the rain, everyone's a bit full of beans and feeling good. They seem to be. We'll just go down and have a little look at them. They've just moved into some thicker vegetation here, but I'm sure they'll be fine. Always nice to catch up on how they're getting on, and particularly they're watching them build their strength, suckling off their mums as we speak. Just poke our nose into here. Oh, settle down. It's all right, guys. It's all right. It's okay. There we go. Lots of little ones there. They're probably going to take off. There's some that are probably the ones that were born this morning. You can see the umbilical remnants of the umbilical cord. They've got their fantastic. Look at them running. Isn't that beautiful? The little guys moving through there. Really interesting, folks. A little note to remember is that there's well, scientists aren't really sure, but they think that the reason why the wildebeest give birth. You notice this morning. Oh, there's Brian. There's Brian the wildebeest with his mum, and that's the only one we know because of that little bent horn. We go and see Brian. Have a look. We can't tell VM because VM's mum's got normal horns, but there's Brian's mum's got the bent horn just there. And we've got beautiful impala in the foreground as well. trying to spot her now. She's a little one with a bent horn. I seem to have lost her, but anyway, she's down there with her offspring, which is fantastic. But the interesting thing to note is you probably picked up that both the calvings that we recorded the other day, when Pete and I were very privileged, and VM and Brian and all the team then, and then this morning, how lucky Scott was with that, and that's a really wonderful thing to see, and he was really chuffed with that as well. But they were born in the morning, and birthing normally starts from about dawn and finishes about midday, and the science sort of behind that says that the wildebeest have modified their birthing times to maximise the time for the calves to gain strength and get their feet before nightfall. So it's a nice little bit of theory there that normally we see, there's VM just there, you got him. We see that they give birth really early in the morning, and you probably noticed as well that with the behaviour you saw this morning, a little bit of confusion by the calf and the other one nuzzling it. They like to give birth. They're very, very comfortable when other members of the herd are around. They do like to give birth in company of others. So it's just some behaviour that's been recorded over a long period of time. It's pretty sound sort of philosophy that they do give birth at that time, because they want their calves to maximise their time to get strong before nightfall, which is the dangerous part of the day. Or the night, sorry, the dangerous part of the 24-hour period for them to get through for predators. But I tell you what, that is a very beautiful scene there. All those baby impala, loads of wildebeest with their calves as well. So nice. Okay, let's go and find. I know a lot of you are interested in this hippo, as am I. I really want to see how this old hippo gets on. He's a resilient old fella, and we were so lucky yesterday. I really had to recap last night off camera. It was such a rush at the end to say that we were going to go down and just have a little bit of a look around Treehouse Dam, because I just had this sort of intuitive, and then came back, and that impala was out of the tree. So she did finish that off, and she's probably gone off down into one of her other areas that she likes to hang out in. Just fantastic to see her up close. And then came back, and that impala was out of the tree. So she did finish that off, and she's probably gone off down into one of her other areas that she likes to hang out in. Just fantastic to see her up close. Again, magnificent cat, and we are so privileged. But it was a real great finish to the day. Not out of the window of precipitation, that's for sure. We are definitely potentially going to get rained on again. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that, because if we do have to shoot back to base, we will have to be really getting our skates on to do that, and move quickly. So I'm just going to slowly make my way to Arathusa. If it does, I do have any doubts, we'll turn around and we'll head back. So the great news is the jigger is back on the road, which is absolutely fantastic, and thanks to everyone, and especially Peter Bratt, who is he's a legend. He sorted that out today. It was something, well, we thought it was worse than it was, but luckily it was something a little bit easier with a couple of other tweaks. We had to get a part for one of the parts, the technical equipment in the back of Pete's vehicle, and thank goodness the jigger is back on the road, which is brilliant. And wasn't that sunset amazing yesterday, folks? That was a real highlight yesterday for me. The whole sort of journey, it started off quiet, but we saw those beautiful jackals, and then it started to build from there. And that's what a drive is all about. You just don't know, there's no script. It's all about just seeing what happens and the journey that we've taken, and that's a sensational thing. So I was thinking about it last night. Quite funny, when I asked everyone if ever someone wanted to go left or right, the majority of people said left for luck. If we would have gone right, there's a potential that we wouldn't have made it to Karula in time. So you made the right choice, folks, because I would have had to go a completely different way, and by the time that we got word about Karula, I may have been too late to find her. So really fantastic, and I love that sort of serendipitous situations that occur. It was just brilliant. Right, we're going to head down here. We just creep our way down to Treehouse Dam. I was absolutely shocked when I drove up to that dam yesterday and saw that hippo in there. And once we confirmed and identified him, I had to have a look through the binocs just to have a look and see the scars on him, but it definitely was him. And he was doing something interesting yesterday. Now, maybe I'm just coming up with my own theory here, but the first time that we've seen him, the first time we saw him, he was lying with his wounds exposed to the air, and the birds were really aggravating that. And now he's lying with his wounds in the water, keeping the birds off them. But who knows why that is. He might be getting relief from that, I'm not sure. But he definitely had, look, I've worked with hippos for a long time. I worked with them for 10 years in captivity, and you could definitely see when the health or the vigor of the hippopotamus was a bit flat. They get a little bit more of a I don't know, lackluster sort of shine in their eye, like a lot of animals do. But he looked a little bit more up yesterday. Okay. Control the copy. Can we go channel 2? So nothing really here, folks. Let's go channel 2. Thank you. Very quiet. Okay, very quiet here, folks. I think what we'll do is We'll carry on now down at Twin Dams. There hasn't been a lot of activity by the looks of things here for our hippo friend. He's probably still over at that dam and a long way away from potentially that other dominant bull. And who knows, that dominant bull may come this way grazing at night, and that's maybe what stressed him a little bit. But over there he seems to be have the place to himself, as he did here, but we just don't know what happens at night when the hippos actually do come out of the water and go grazing. So he might have got a bit of a push, we just don't know. We're going to cross the dam wall and then just scoot our way down there. Just having a little bit more of a look here. Okay. So a little bit quiet around the dam at the moment. What we might do now is do a little cross to Pete and catch up with him and say good afternoon whilst we're making our way to the dam. And if we see anything down there, we'll definitely come back. If there's nothing at the dam, we'll probably stay with Pete and I'll catch you up back when we're on Arathusa. But good afternoon everyone, fantastic to have you on board, and we'll see you just now.
Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to the Jigger. Firstly, we're very happy that the Jigger is up and running again. This time it wasn't the vehicle so much as the equipment. Just a little tiny little fuse, but we have it. In fact, we have a lot of them now, so that's all sorted. As Hayden has said, a beautiful afternoon, nice and cool after the heat we've had, and just very dramatic, very beautiful, striking skies. This whole area, we had a bit of a sort of a quick downpour earlier. We might have some more again, but for the moment, just lovely. The smells are great, the temperature is great. It was very hot today, and just lovely to have you on Safari Live here with Wild Earth in Sabi Sands Game Reserve, South Africa. As always, a pleasure. My name is Peter Pretorius. Brian behind the camera. Hey, like that one. I haven't actually seen that one. It was a bit quick. And yes, just looking forward to the afternoon. Lovely having Scott on drive this morning. His first drive. He came back with a smile about this big. He had to sort of, pull it back in to keep his face from splitting. So he loved it. Thank you guys so much for making him feel so welcome as well. That is always a lovely thing with a first experience when every one of you or many of you have such positive things to say. We'll fox everyone back in control. And yeah, that's it. You might have noticed things look a little bit different around us. This is still the, call it phase B development of the prototype collapsible safari canopy. It has a strong origin from tents and wooden poles. The premise of this being that we can break it down to nothing and fold it away and pack it away. But if the rain does come, we can rip it out, whip it out, put it up. And this is still in development. I missed one or two loops, so my apologies for a couple of bulges of canvas in your way. But this should keep us out in the rain. And trust me, being on safari in the rain, if you're relatively dry, especially when you're electronic, like Brian's equipment back there, it's very important. But being out in the rain is beautiful. I've had some of my most memorable experiences on game drives. You might not see that much, but when you do find something, it is absolutely stunning. And the rain itself is beautiful. Look at all this. Let's have a little stop here with the Impala. I think we're going to stop counting the babies probably by tomorrow. But at a quick count, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Little ones and counting. There are still quite a few females to have their babies. I just love these little guys. Impala for me are one of my favorite animals in the bush. Beautiful. You see them often. But they are just the personification of the lowveld. And then in Namibia, the animals that fill this niche, sort of medium-sized antelope, are the springbuck. They do better in the dry, sort of semi-arid and arid conditions. Normally after a bit of rain like this, I'm not sure, we've all been speculating, there might be a bit more on the way again. But normally after rain like this, you find the animals are a little bit elated. It's cooled down, so they also have a bit of extra energy. And for lack of a better word, joy. Knowing that there's going to be nice food for them, good water to drink. Pretty much happy days. These guys, of course, looking at what they're doing now, feeding most of them. They will stop feeding during the rain, but they need to feed quite a bit during the day. They need to fill up their rumens, which is the first sort of holding compartment if you're on the stomach. The ruminant animals have got different stomach chambers, and that basically allows them to digest the food. They'll regurgitate that food and then chew it again and just grind it over and grind it down until it's really fine, and that just allows them to digest the cellulose and get, you know, higher feeding value per volume of food. In other words, protein and so forth from what's available in grass. And trust me, grass is not necessarily, certainly from a human point of view, the most nutritious of foods, but they can digest it very well because they break it down almost to like a cellular level, if you want. Ruminants it's quite a shall I say common digestive system for all your antelopes. Deer have got similar, cows, sheep, giraffe. After the heat of the day, this is lovely. Big male there as well. Not necessarily the father of these lambs, potentially the father of some of them, but not necessarily at all. All this happened about 6 months ago with different males competing during rutting season. There's a lot of competition between the males, and you could have various males mating with females in the group. Just having a look around. This morning we had one of these babies, one of these Impala lambs with, well, not really a limp, it actually wasn't using its front left leg. Sort of hobbling along. It didn't look broken, it just looked injured. And at the moment, unless it's lying down somewhere, I don't see it, or in other words, maybe it has improved. Maybe it's feeling better. What a lovely picture. You get these guys more and more now over the next few weeks actually staying in little creches, little groups together. Good for play, but also good for the adults to keep an eye on the young ones if they're sort of all together in a certain area. Quite curious, it's difficult to see, but it looks like they're actually nibbling at the termite mound. They're getting a little bit of soil into their stomach, which would be strange for impala. It's not something I've specifically read about impala. I'm just trying to stretch my mind. Many of these things I read 15, 20 years ago, and then you deal with it over time and some things go forgotten. But you do get this with other types of animals, hindgut fermenters. You get it sometimes. They eat a bit of soil, a bit of minerals, and maybe a bit of help for the digestive tract. You get it with certain animals like aardwolf, certainly. But these guys look like they're actually eating a little bit of this fish soil from the termites, which would be very interesting. You get it, for instance, often with elephant and zebra, again, your hindgut fermenters, which has got a different digestive system. They need to get the enzymes and bacteria and things in the dung. So you'll get them often eating little bits of dung from the adults. Such beautiful animals, such amazing markings. Look at the 3 black lines on the backside, the ear tips, almost like eyes, which will be a good indication to a predator. If the impala is even just listening in that direction, it will give the predator a very clear visual indication that, listen buddy, you've been made, you've been spotted, you've been heard. Well, that's interesting. If anyone specifically has seen or heard or read something about this, the impala definitely is licking at a little bit of soil there. Now you do get these natural mineral licks, which this is not the case. You get these places where either water is collected and evaporated over time, where they will actually lick the soil to get extra minerals and salts from it. And those are like mineral licks. This was just a little bit of soil there. Very interesting. Looking around, I mean, these guys they're not spooked or very alerted by something specific, but very alert at this stage, generally speaking. But now that they've got little ones around, they need to be on extra high alert, because the predators will be on extra high lookout for easy prey, which is often the case with these sort of newborn or few day old young ones. Turn a little bit. Impalas are running across the clearing here. Always beautiful to see them running. They're such fluid looking animals in motion. Oh, there's the one with the sore leg. I was hoping it's better, but it's still on 3 legs. We'll keep an eye on it the next few days. Guys, we've basically just been sitting with these impala, obviously seeing what they're doing. They were licking a bit of soil, which is interesting. The young ones are grooming themselves a little bit. And now, just go up here. They're going closer to the wildebeest. You've maybe just joined us for this afternoon drive with the sunset safari. We had 2 more wildebeest births this morning, which is very exciting. And we were just watching those 2 that we originally named Brian and the wildebeest. Notice another two females that were starting the birth process. And speaking of the wildebeest, let's look at them a little bit. One of the ones from this morning, that's still tiny, so we could say that that is what is that, about 8 hours ago, 9 hours old. You can see the umbilical cord is still very much there. The coat even looks a little bit wet still. Yes, they're beautiful when they're this young. Sort of more a sort of a tawny color, and you can see just lying down in a bit of brown grass, they do blend in better than the adult color, the darker sort of almost a charcoal color of the adult, sort of very dark chocolate brown. And you find this also with Arathusa, Tessabe, Topi, other animals in this sort of subfamily. Generally your plains antelope, that the young ones are that light color, again just to hide them better in the grass until they're a bit older. What a lovely scene out here. Hey Brian? After the hot day, this is not a bad change of scenery. Again, like with the impala, these guys often have little creches, so if they do go and lie down, they will lie down in little groups, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 together, depending the size of the herd. And then in areas with lots of plains game, I mean Sabi Sands, this specific area that we're in, the northern Sabi Sands, it's not really big open plains. You know, you get these little patches of open areas, and that's fine for the wildebeest, but it's not prime habitat for wildebeest. This is more prime habitat for things like impala, kudu, nyala, leopard, whereas your plains game, if they really have the big open areas, you would have wildebeest herds here of 50, 100, 200, 300 animals. And in that case, you would get big creches of youngsters, and they would often hide them together in a little bit taller grass, even slightly away from the main body of the herd where they're feeding. And that just again gives them a better chance of not being detected by predators. And they also have got very little scent on them when they're this young. So a predator would have to almost stumble upon them to find them. This is very interesting. Let's just see if we can see it, otherwise I'll turn a little bit. But this female, she's got 2 calves suckling at the moment. Just look at that. This is directly from this morning we spoke about it. I'm going to turn for you quickly, because that's part of our range structure. There we go. Oh, the other one's also running over there. Maybe she's just the most popular female. She's like the grandmother that bakes the cookies. All the kids love her. But look at that now. Just the 2 little ones are both suckling. And she lied it just now. They're both suckling again. Now we saw this morning, and it was quite fascinating behavior, where the one calf was born and then latched onto or identified to an extent with the female that was still busy giving birth, and she didn't necessarily push him away. And look at that now. This is the first time I've seen this. This is what you would refer to typically as allo suckling, and that's when a female allows another female's offspring to feed from her. or to suckle from her. That's very interesting. Amazing light now as well coming out. Now that's the mother's calf. The other one is going over to its real mother now, if you want. There it's suckling now from its mum. But it was definitely suckling alongside the other calf just now. And look at that female also going back to it again. This is actually beautiful to see. Good afternoon, Charlie, and I was just going to say, what a beautiful time to be joining on a game drive. I'm sure you agree. You just had the most amazing light come out. Brian, you were talking about it this morning. When you get this big rain and then you've got the dark backgrounds and then the light coming through, it is spectacular. It's almost like the light has been washed. In effect, actually, the air has been washed, and therefore you get a different quality of light. Charlene's just asking if wildebeest ever have twins. Charlene, no, not really, not typically. But I think to say they never have twins would be totally wrong. I'm sure they do sometimes. I'm sure it has happened. I'm sure it happens probably more than we might think. It's not that likely for animals to have twins out in wild areas like this, just because there'd be different strains on the mother. And from a birthing point of view and so on, it would be quite tough, and the predators might take advantage of that. But I'm sure it does happen. We spoke about this yesterday as well on Drive, that you do get it quite easily where animals are being bred specifically, not talking about sheep or cow, or cattle not so much, but certainly with sheep and goats. And I'm sure under the right conditions, under perfect conditions, maybe in areas where there's not many or any predators anymore, it would be something that that might happen. A little bit of rain coming in, nothing too serious, but a couple of drops. Right, I think we should just amble along slowly. Let's go have a look down towards Gari Dam. See what this weather is going to do, because it's looking like a bit of heavier rain coming along. Not as heavy, windy, stormy weather or rain as we had earlier, but certainly some rain on its way. Let's go have a look down at the waterhole. Skies. I'm going to just quickly pull the sides down here so that the brine is a bit covered. Maybe more importantly, the cameras. Sort this out. The big drops coming. So this is just basically to keep this area dry. Luckily, us as humans, we have been designed, if you want, to be waterproof. A little raincoat helps as well, but all this stuff that brings you from around the world live on safari is not quite designed to be working with water in it or on it. So just going to cover it up a little bit, the back area, and then we should be able to continue on. So that's the plan. Give me a second. Alright. Cool. No, sorry, I'm just off comms there, so I just want to make sure where we're at. I will have to tighten up things a bit more. What's this? Oh, that's my raincoat. But I'm going to try and just turn us so that we have a bit of a view at least. This is actually quite funny in a funny, cool way. Let's go look at the impala. Let's see, what do the animals do when it's raining? Obviously, like humans, they are also waterproof. Just gonna turn. I have to tighten a few things here because we're going to end up channeling water into where we are. But we shall show you what is going on in the rain as far as possible. So we're just going to sit here for now. Brian can show you the impala and the wildebeest and what they're doing. I'm just going to sneak off to the back of the vehicle here and just tighten a few things. So enjoy the view, enjoy the rain. I'll talk to you as I go along, but I have to do a few things about the water. Notice how they're standing while the Impalas are giving me a sort of strange look now, but they're standing all with their backsides to the wind a little bit. Alright, how are we doing? So guys, this is sort of a test on the go. That's what I'm doing with my sound here. Brian, I'm just going to put it on the table here. Can you just keep a slight eye on it? Keep it out the water. Okay. Close this other flap as well, so we have the sound covered. And are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us.
Threw the tarps over the vehicle and I was driving along with a little section here trying to get back to base, but it suddenly stopped. It's quite beautiful actually. You can have a look at this sun streaming down through this hole in the clouds just here. Really quite beautiful, but just right in front of that. And I think we're going to head back a little bit closer to home. We were trying to make our way to... Sorry guys, we just had everything covered up, so I do apologise. There's a bit of rustling and things going on. We had tarps and everything over lots and lots of bits, but that's what happens. This is the real deal. So anything that everything's a little bit damp just here, but the whole vehicle is dry and all the electrical equipment is dry and all the technology, which is the most important thing. We're a bit damp, but that doesn't matter. We're going to just drive on and get a bit back closer to control. We didn't quite make it to see if our hippo was still at that dam, but we'll see how we go. If I can't get there today, I'll definitely get back there tomorrow. A few corrugations on this road again, folks, so sorry about the vibrations. It just came out of nowhere. It was sort of creeping around behind us, and I thought, oh, it's just going to pass, and then suddenly the heavens opened up. It wasn't like a thunderstorm, it was just a shower, but it was enough to get our equipment damp, and so we just covered up and sat there for a bit. But it seems to be okay right now. We're just going to keep an eye on it. Of course, you know exactly why we do this. It's because the technology in the back of the vehicle is the most important thing. The technology all over the vehicle actually is the most important thing, and keeping that dry is of the utmost importance. Very, very important that we just look after these vehicles. They're our tools, they're our friends in a way, you know. We really need to look after them, and they look after us. I'm just going to peel back in to Djuma now, off one of these roads coming up. There's a little bit of a damp shower. I thought we might just turn in here. Got a few spots of rain on the lens, so I do apologise us drying it, but that's what we do. Stay there for me, please, my friend. I don't know if you can get it for him. It's sitting on a power line that, or sorry, a telephone line there that runs along the edge of the reserve, but it is a woodland kingfisher. I'd rather get one in a better shot for you than that, but just to show you that that's what that bird is. We'll definitely see another one, and I'll make sure that we in tomorrow morning actually, I'll definitely drive over there and have a look for him. Got a beautiful scent in the air, I have to tell you. Really aromatic after the rain. The rain definitely releases the smells of the bush, and it's a very, very beautiful smell. We're coming down into this area, or Sandy Patch Road. We've seen a lot of activity there in the last few weeks. Might be worth just having a little look around there, just and sort of just have a little bit of an investigation around areas close to back to base, because we've seen loads of things, and it just goes to show you, like last night, folks, we had a leopard 50 meters or 30 meters from where where all the teams sit during the day. So animals are certainly not concerned about humans on these beautiful reserves on Sabi Sands, and that's one of the reasons why so many people come here. And I know I say it every afternoon, folks, and every morning on our sunrise and our sunset drives, but you never know what's around that next corner. And it's proved to be true time and time again. Just when you think that you're back, you're heading back to home, something will just pop its head up, which is the most brilliant thing about being on safari. So time is getting nearer as well to Big Cat Week on Nat Geo channel and Nat Geo Wild, as well as WildEarthTV. Of course, there's loads of different ways to watch what we're doing through that week, and it's all much more information is available on the websites. So check that out. And the team has been working tirelessly. I keep saying it, but it's so true, to improve the streaming and try and get things happening. Obviously, when we've got wet weather or rain and things like that, it's a bit of a scramble for cover wherever we are. But we're getting there, and all your support and participation being on the vehicle with us is what gets us through. And sharing these magical moments like we've had over the past nearly 4 weeks. It's gone so quickly. I'm already a bit sad for it ending, but at the same time, I've had the most incredible experience up to now, and we've still got a few weeks to go. I'm still loving it, every minute of it. Working with Pete and now Scott, and really looking forward to Mark coming as well. An incredible team of guys out on the road, but they're an incredible team of people behind the scenes as well. I like this area. It's got a really nice new flush of grass come through from that rain yesterday and the day before, and now tonight. It's fantastic skies. I think the rain has passed. And it's only 5 o'clock, or just after 5 o'clock, so 10 past or something. Brilliant. If it's days like this, happy, happy days. Little bit quiet, but we've never let that worry us before. Lightning way off in the distance there, but nothing to worry about for us at this point. Let's go down here, see what we can find. I like this little road. We just got a tweet from Savannah. Hi Savannah, hope you're well. Thanks for joining us again as always. Asking if we get a lot of lightning strike fires occur. So fires occurring from lightning strike. Well, I couldn't tell you the accurate information, Savannah, on exactly how many there are, because I think there's the origin of fires sometimes are a little bit hard to put your finger on. They may have been accidentally lit by humans. Or they may have been purposely lit by humans, where you'll have a very controlled fire situation, and the management, the reserve manager, will be burning off an area to clear some fresh vegetation for the wildlife. But lightning strike definitely does occur. I've been in some parts of Southern Africa where lightning strike has hit, and you wouldn't think that it would start a fire in the rain that it was. But it started the fire well off the rain area and carried on, and it was in front of the storm, which was an incredible thing to watch. And the storm actually went another direction. The wind changed and took the weather conditions a different direction, and the area that the lightning strike hit was burning furiously. So it's a very, very difficult thing to get under control sometimes when you've got those climatic conditions. If you've got a big wind. Definitely coming from Australia, where I was born, we are born and bred with horrific bushfires that we have to contend with there, and as well as in Africa and lots of other parts of the world. But what those fires do is actually they conjure up their own weather pattern in a way, and they create something called firestorm. Now, I'm not a professional firefighter by any means, that's for sure, but when you are amongst that, or in the presence of that particular condition, you see the absolute enormity of fire and what it can do, and it's an incredibly powerful yet really, really dangerous situation, and you've got to have your wits about you, and you do have to make sure that human life is of utmost importance, and then making sure you try and do the best you possibly can to extinguish it. Excuse me. So just to add a little bit more, Savannah, you know, the animals are incredibly important, as well as, you know, to all of us, but most animals will be able to get away from that. Of course, there's going to be casualties in fire when it comes to the smaller animals and the invertebrates and things like that live on the ground, and it really is an unfortunate situation. But it also, you have to remember, it's a natural thing. Fire occurs from lightning strike and has been going for more time than we can ever remember as humans, that's for sure. And it's just something that's part of life. It's a natural force that occurs, and it has been going for so long that there's certain plants in the world that actually wait for fire to crack open their seed pods before those seed pods actually become exposed to the elements to germinate. So it's an incredible thing, the old fire, there's no doubt about it. But you have to take huge respect. It's not cold, that's for sure, folks. It's it's still very, very pleasant and comfortable, but it's a temperature that's absolutely favourable to predators. Okay, I'm just going to turn around and just make sure we keep a little bit closer to home, folks. Okay, we're just going to see if we can see anything around here. It's a little quiet, and that happens as well. There's nothing wrong with it. The animals just gone into other areas. It was a bit of a storm, but it's not an issue. These sorts of things happen all the time. Still got a lot of the sort of hoofed animals getting around, that's for sure. Lovely, lovely stream of sunshine coming through those clouds over there. Have a look at that, folks. That's beautiful. That's super. We've been gifted with a lot of this incredible weather patterns, and that's just quite special. We're parked on a little bit of an angle here, so I'll just try and get off that for VM. What a beautiful, beautiful scene. That green grass and those trees that just go on, and the mountains in the background. We just got a message from a tweet from Rosie B on Twitter. Hi Rosie B, always great to hear you. Just wanted to know, are we allowed to intervene if there is any animals in danger from fire? Well, we would definitely be making sure that animals, there wasn't any situations arising for, you know, we'd definitely make sure that something was done about that. But with a controlled burn that's done by management, that would be strategically implemented, if I can use those words. There would be a lot of people on the ground, there would be a lot of people controlling the direction of that fire, and animals definitely would see that coming with good notice. If it was a lightning strike and it was out of control, I'm sure everyone would be doing all that they possibly could, but these natural phenomena that occur sometimes, we'd have to just do everything you could. That's the situation, Rosie. Everything you could do, you would do, making sure that your staff and your team always are first and foremost, because fire can definitely creep up on you. I've been in situations before where it has definitely taken people by surprise, and it's a really tricky situation, Rosie. So You can create all these different scenarios in your head like you can with any health and safety or any first aid situation, and you know, you do what you can at the time. You do what you do. You can only do your best for animals and for people. I really wanted to see what was going on with that hippo, but we just didn't make it, and I just wanted to say again, I'll definitely follow that up tomorrow and see if he's still over at that dam that we found. We stumbled upon him last night. We also saw that buffalo that had like a sort of little bit of a cavity in the left-hand side of his boss, the boss being that big bulbous heavily armored area of the horns on top of his skull. Now, you know, that could have occurred from so many different things. They will scratch their head and their horns up and down on things a lot. It doesn't normally cause that cavity, but one thing can lead to another. So he might have had an injury there, like from a battle with another buffalo. It might have had a crack in it. Might have got an infection. It might have then been rubbed and rubbed and rubbed, and loads of different scenarios again that you could come up with for that. One doesn't know the history of that animal, but you know, it could be quite difficult for him in his older age if an infection got in there. But if it's dry and free draining and he sort of doesn't get any sort of infection in it, he probably will survive. He was quite old. He had both of his horns broken off there, and he'd definitely been around. So animals get to the end of their life and go on to the next life, whatever that is, but he definitely was going to have a little bit of a problem with that in the future. He looked okay health-wise. He looked okay, but he was an old boy. Maybe old hippos hang out with old buffalo, I don't know. But he looked alright. So very quiet where we are at the moment. Just going to head up onto Impala Plains here. We've looked at this bird before, but it's a nice little bird just to have a look at now again. It's a crowned lapwing, and it's a lovely little bird. Very busy little guy. Seen mostly in pairs, but sometimes in 3s, 4s like we've got now. Sorry, 4s, 6s, 8s. You definitely see them around. Very busy. Beautiful black crown there. That buff plumage along the wings and the chest, the breast there. White underparts with those red legs. I'm just rolling back with them to get a little bit more. The juveniles, if you see ones with yellow legs, they are the juveniles. But these ones are all adults. Maybe the one behind might be a bit younger. Very, very busy. If you have a little look here at the app, we've done this before, but it's just good to refresh yourself with the call, and it's a really quintessential African call. And the finish of this call is what you hear at dusk. Always reminds me of night falling when I hear that sound, and a beautiful little bird. They used to be called the crowned plover, which I prefer, but anyway, I don't name these things. I prefer crowned plover. But it's now masked lapwing, and all the plovers are lapwings now. This is the area we saw Mvula in that day. So leopards, the leopard boys are definitely, I'm sorry, Tingana it was here, Tingana. They do frequent this area. Definitely got a beautiful feel about the bush when it's rained. It's got a lovely sort of atmospheric sort of feel about it. It's cool, it's damp, great smells. Just going to drop down this hill a little bit and see what we can see. Just going to drop down to see Treehouse Dam again. It's close enough for us to scoot back if we feel a drop of rain, but it definitely looks like it's past us from standing up here. Nice little sort of elevated area here, goes down into this drainage line. This is where we did cross country one night looking for I think it was who was it, Ben? Tingana? Oh, it was Tingana, that's right. We did a cross country from Treehouse Dam to here looking for Tingana, and it was a bit of a journey, but it was a great experience. But unfortunately we were just down in this drainage line where the
this one.
Very quiet. That's okay. You know, the first time I came to Africa in 1992, there's this feeling you get when you get off the plane, and a dream come true type of thing, and it's got a certain magic about it, a certain smell about it. I talk about those sort of smells a lot, folks, but it has got definitely a certain smell in the air, and one of the first things that hit me, and it hits me every time I get off a plane and land in an African country. And then I was doing some work up in Zimbabwe with black rhinoceros, and I was still working at the zoo and doing work at the zoo, and we were capturing black rhinoceros for a breeding program to make sure that we had a good breeding program going in captivity as well. And that was when I knew in my very heart that I had been sort of born in a country that I loved to bits, but I also had half of my heart in this continent. And from that day back in 1992, I still have the same magical feeling and excitement when I arrive anywhere in Africa, because it just gets in your soul. It gets in your shoes, in your soul, into your pores. And that's what this sort of live drive with us hopefully conjures up for you, and hopefully we sort of send the magic with you in the back of the vehicle with us. That magic that comes through in the pictures, and hopefully some of the words, and hopefully with the descriptions of what we're seeing, feeling, smelling, touching. It's a pretty nice thing. It's a pretty nice thing to share. I always say the most dangerous animal in Africa is the Africa bug, because once you get bitten, you're in big trouble. Big trouble. The Africa bug gets into your system, and it's all you think about, really. It's times like this when you don't really even have to be seeing a great deal of wildlife. It's just this incredible atmosphere and environment and habitat. It's nice. And for all you Africans that are born and bred here, that may be watching or listening, I envy that heritage that you've got, because the connection that a lot of people have with their country here in South Africa is a very enviable quality. You live in a beautiful country. It's a magical place. this is probably the quietest 10 minutes of driving we've had in many days. But you never know what's around the next corner. I also want to know where Karula's gone, so going to follow up on that. But how good was that, seeing her last night? I was so chuffed when we got to there and we saw her, sorry. I was just looking at a lilac-breasted roller flying past and said him. When we saw her, it was just beautiful, just beautiful. Such a pretty, beautiful, beautiful cat. She obviously likes her meat well hung, that's for sure. She left it there for a couple of days. It's nice just to pull up sometimes and just have a little look. The more time you take at places like this, the more chance you have of seeing the unexpected. Reverse would probably be a good gear to choose there instead of first. Right. Really happy that Scott had a drive this morning and witnessed that beautiful situation, that beautiful little, well, the couple of calves being born with just looking at the weather here, folks. Sorry guys, I've got to put on a little bit of speed here. Just have to bear with me guys, just driving to get this vehicle out of the rain. Okay, guys. Okay, I think you're still with me, folks, but might get a little couple of splatters on the just baby raindrops on the lens. We're very close to home. We're going to be fine. We just heard a couple of big raindrops, and when you feel those big ones start, you know that it's going to it's probably just another shower. But you know, the clouds are definitely sort of storm clouds, so you go in and out, you're sort of dodging them really. We're absolutely fine. As soon as you start to feel those first big ones, you think, okay, let's do it. So remembering the main reason we are here is because of these fantastic vehicles. We're fine, man. We can make it as long as you're cutting to him. Okay, guys, we're going to cross the peak. We'll see you just now.
Okay, guys. Well, as I was saying, that, and then the other thing is what we're calling the bush tent. Maybe it's got a few things names going for it, which is just this cover. It's on a beautiful area. It's part of quarantine, and it's just while we had to do a quick sound check from the front here. Our plan is basically that if it's raining, unless it's a torrential downpour, you know, lightning and thunder and everything, if it's anything sort of, you know, 7 out of 10 or less, this is where we'll come. If it's a light drizzle, make a little fire and just enjoy the view from here while it is raining. For the moment, we're not going to take the jigger out further on drive. We want to make sure that we isolate and cure this little technical glitch that's floating around at the moment. And that's it, pretty much. I'm loving this. It's nice and cool. That's a great view. Let me stand to the side a little bit. The technical stuff. Say again?
You want a question?
Yeah, we can actually. Well, let me just get earpiece in here. All right. Yes. Out here. Well, I like being out here always. But I'll be very honest with you, I love being out in the bush when it's raining. It is such a magical experience. It'll be great. Yeah, of course. Well, if you guys have some questions, if anyone has something to ask, guys, just so that you know, maybe this is your first drive with us. We are in South Africa, in the Greater Kruger National Park in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve. But not only is this a live game drive where we see and share and experience what happens as it happens, it is also interactive. You're welcome to ask a question as you would on a game drive. If you want to ask, you know, when is your rain season, or how many stripes does a zebra have, or you know, how high can a leopard jump, anything like that, feel free to send it in. You can do it one of two ways. You can tweet it, #SafariLive, or you can email it to questions@wildearth.tv. questions@wildearth.tv. Will, Alex, Peter Brat, the team back in, Jason, all the guys back in control, they monitor all these things going on, and as well as sending through some of the questions. So if you have anything, feel free to send it through, or even comments. If you just want to say, wow, this is amazing, or, you know, this really makes me want to go to Africa. As I said, some of my favorite questions, and I just thought of that now, is when people ask me, when is the best time to go to Africa? Or if they ask us, is this really live? So if you don't believe us, maybe this is your first time and you think, I'm not sure if this is live, ask the question and we'll tell you. Favorite time for Africa, a lot of people will tell you winter time. because the game viewing is great and it's not so hot and so on, which is obviously true. This, for me, is one of my favorite times in the bush. Yes, this can happen, it can rain, but as I said, luckily we waterproof, and it's just such a beautiful and exciting time in the bush, all the life and activity that's going on. And yes, let's get a question or two. Eric, nice to hear from you. It's not a name that we hear often, so always nice to have new questions and new faces. Eric's just asking, who can we thank for the bush tent? Well, everyone. This is a collective effort of trying to get everything working. We all jump in and do various aspects. I've spent a bit of time up here. I like this kind of thing. This is something very close to my heart. Down the line, I would like to do this where I maybe sleep out here, and you have a little morning coffee and you see the sun rising before you go on game drive. Camping out in the bush is something that I've always loved and always will love. So I do like this kind of thing. And Hayden, the camera guys, the guys that are out this side, when the guys are very busy in the control room as well. Brian, BM had a hand, HD had a hand, and actually a really big thank you to Scott. The last couple of days he spent quite a bit of time up here with me. We brought, let me show you one or two things. We brought the log in for the seat. That's our chair for when we make the fire. The stones we brought up the other day with the camera guys. And yeah, we just put this up to, again, see how it goes. It's part of our rain weather plan. So I have a feeling we might actually be giving it a try this afternoon. Yes, and of course, this will also be where we do the fireside chat, which is, as the name suggests, a chat where H and myself are going to sit around the fire and talk about a few things, what we experience, what we see, answer some questions like we're doing now. I'm just going to pick it. Guys, I just want to roll this one side down, just because I see there's a bit of water dripping in. Excuse me. That should be fine for now, Brian. Give me a shout if you need more cover. Just give me a second. Well, I'm just going to take my comms off for a second. I'm just going to check something at the back, and then I'm back here again while you guys have a look around our rain bush tent as well as our fireside spot. Okay. Okay, well, I have comms again. So guys, these are... Yes, question time. followed this from early days. And Linda's also part of the Leopard Camera Trap sponsors, which is fantastic. Linda from Texas is asking, if I could be an animal, what animal would I be? And that's a question, Linda, that it's a great question. Let's while I'm answering that, let's get a few responses from as many of you as possible. Let's give Alex and Will a lot of reading. Just send lots of emails, what animal you'd be, not long ones, just short, what animal you'd be, and a short sort of 5-6 word description. In other words, leopard, because sleek and beautiful and the mystery of the night. Or lion, because I want to roar and wake the world to the power of Africa. Or elephant, because I have a memory of everything I've seen in my life. So let's get some of those through. We'll feed through some of them as well. I'll bring some up. So tell us what you want to be, a short few word description of it, and your name and where you're from. Linda, what animal I would like to be? I know we had this question a while back, and I had a new thought that I hadn't had before in terms of which animal I'd like to be. But I think for now I'd like to be a leopard. I'm leopard crazy at the moment. I'm loving the leopard. I haven't seen them for a few years, and to see them the way we have, just it blows my mind every time. It is unbelievable the way you experience and really, in a tactile way experience leopard here. So a leopard would certainly be one. Elephant would be great, just because you can traverse. I mean, I'd like to be an elephant, but I'd like to be an elephant 100 years ago, with a little bit of knowledge about where I was, and I just walk the whole Africa, walk Cape to Sub-Sahara area and see all of it. But ultimately, I mean, to be very honest, the animal I would like to be, I am man. And in terms of all the animals I know of, obviously I'm a bit biased because I speak the language, and I am man. I like women. I've got a fantastic woman in my life, and children and all those kind of things, and I can relate to that obviously because I'm a human. I also think we have the ability to comprehend and understand, although that is maybe limited in the sense that all life must have that to some extent. So for now I think I will go with a leopard and a man, and we'll think of a few other ones and get some answers from us to us what you'd like to be. So Chris wants to be a honey badger, and Gerda honey badger. No, sorry, I'm trying to talk and listen. There's something I'm trying to practice. So Chris wants to be a honey badger. Who wants to be a hyena? Gail wants to be a cheetah. Gerda wanted to be a hyena. Laura wants to be a leopard. Laura the leopard, like that. Gerda wanted to be a hyena. That's quite an interesting choice, Gerda. Christine from North Carolina. Christine, I like your answer. I like the way you think, and I love a sense of humor. She wants to be a dung beetle. While your life is sort of revolving around keeping things rolling, I guess. So I do like that. I was thinking about insects earlier. I wouldn't mind being something like a dragonfly. It's not a long life, but I'm sure it's very fast. I watched this movie Epic a while back with my daughter, and it's about our tiny life works in a different dimension almost than we do. So everything happens faster for us, but in their world we just happen really slow. And that gave me some interesting thinking about the small life around us. Cheetah, obviously beautiful cats, very fast. And let's see what else is there, Will. Great. Penny and Bobby Leg, guys, awesome to have you on Drive. You guys have been part of this family for a long time. Penny and Bobby Leg would like to be a civet and to live life and live it. I didn't get that 100% right, but what was that? Will just help me again? Yes, Penny and Bobby Leg would like to be a civet, to love life and live it. I was going to try and rhyme something with leg there, but I wasn't quick enough. I like that. And Elaine, I would like to have you along in this area that we can talk to each other. Elaine would like to be a giraffe. They've got great eyesight. Standing at about 4 meters tall, that's about what's that, 4 meters, it's about 14 feet, 15 feet. You know, you can see a great deal. You know what, I would love to, maybe not, I wouldn't mind being one, but I would love to have someone that's close to me that can be like an eagle or a raptor of some sort. We were talking about it yesterday with Scott. I would love to have as a friend a black-breasted snake eagle. Any eagle, black eagles. I love black eagles, martial eagles, all the big birds of prey. But black-breasted snake eagles have got the benefit that they can hover. So they're a beautiful bird. They look a little bit like a mini martial eagle. But imagine going on game drive and you just have this like a spirit bird flying with you. And whenever it sees a leopard or a lion, it hovers. And you know, you can maybe teach it to do a little certain hover pattern for a leopard or a lion, and you can just find them like that. That would be great. Also, to be an eagle would be amazing, to really soar up there. Guys, there's a game driver going past. Hey Greg, how's it going? Guys all wrapped up in ponchos. Holly would like to be great choice, and interesting choice as well. I was gonna, I'm trying to, sorry, I keep thinking about this, and we're not gonna do it just now, but I keep thinking about some of these rhymes. If we could get a couple of rhymes from you, like Penny and Bobby Leg did. We've got a fantastic beatboxer behind the camera, which we've kept quiet, but anyway, I was just thinking about some animal rhymes and Brian beatboxing, but Holly would like to be a migrating monarch butterfly, and that is something, Holly, firstly, you know, when you do, call me, because I'd like to come and see you and the millions of other ones doing it. The migration of the monarch butterflies, North American migration, is, I've never experienced it, but what I've seen images and video from it, it's unbelievable. We of course get a monarch butterfly in Africa as well, the African monarch, and very interesting butterfly. The larva, or the caterpillar actually eats well, different plants, but mainly from a plant called a milkweed. And the milkweed has got a latex in it, which is very poisonous, cyanide type, so stomach poison. And when they metamorphosize into the adult butterfly, which is a beautiful monarch, you know, like the monarchs in North America, looks very similar, they retain that poison in their body. And if, let's say, a lilac-breasted roller or a bee-eater or a drongo catches that monarch butterfly, they don't normally die, they just get sick. So upset stomach, I've seen birds sometimes physically sitting there getting sick, which is probably from that. They regurgitate and they learn, don't eat that butterfly again. Now what's very interesting, you get different forms of mimicry, where animals mimic other animals for certain benefits. You get it lots in insect life. You get, for instance, non-dangerous insects that look like bees, so that other things might think it's a bee and leave it alone. Now you get a few different butterflies that mimic the African monarch. The most interesting one that you get here is called a diadem butterfly, and the female looks to the naked eye at a quick glance exactly like the African monarch. And certainly to a bird flying past, they would think, hey, there's an African monarch, I'm not going to catch it, it's poisonous, let it go. What's interesting is obviously she's not poisonous. But the male diadem butterfly looks totally different. It's a black butterfly with white spots on each wing segment, so it's got 4 white spots on the body. So the male and female diadem butterfly look nothing like each other, but the female butterfly, obviously being the one that must have a little bit longer chance at life to lay the eggs so that the species can procreate, looks and mimics the African monarch butterfly, but baptisia mimicry is what it's called. So Holly, that might be interesting for you. And yes, a migration with thousands or many thousands of butterflies could be really cool. Nice thunder in the background. Just looking at, it's a little bit far, but just to give you an idea of where we are, it is lovely to be out in nature. The rain is falling on the tarp that's over us, or the tarpaulin rain cover. There in the distance, if you sort of look across the fireplace and further back, the impalas are coming out a little bit, the blue wildebeest are coming out. I must say, no, I was almost tempted to make a fire. This rain is not heavy enough to... Let's see, would... Guys, just while we're enjoying this view, the baby impalas weathering the weather. Blue wildebeest, there's some zebras walking up as well, so we should have a nice bit of wildlife actually congregating around us here. Marilyn is just asking, she saw a program about black leopard last night, and I know there's a bit of interest there. I could hear Will's ears pricking up. Will spent a lot of time looking for and tracking for black leopard up in the mountains in the Magaliesberg, in the Drakensberg range. And Graham Wallington, actually from Wild Earth, also has done some interesting work with black leopard and the surrounding that. But anyway, not sure what program you saw, Marilyn, but have I ever seen one? I've never seen one in the wild. I have seen them actually with Kevin Anderson and the cats they had there, and it is absolutely unbelievable animal. I mean, like a leopard. Kevin Anderson, he plays cricket, but let's not bring him into the conversation for now. Kevin Richardson. And I was actually just last night looking at a little bit of footage of him and the black leopard, which was absolutely fascinating. But I have only seen them in captivity, never in the wild. And I think to see a black leopard or a black panther, if you want, in South America, the jaguar version of it, must be unbelievable. Beautiful cat, like a very dark form basically of the leopards we see out here. One of those animals that is almost the stuff of legend in modern day Africa and Asia and South America. Well, there we've got a nice scene of mixed animals. Barbara G would like to be a pathfinder in any herd. That's an interesting choice. It's actually, we should get like Dr. Phil to come join us on the drive and psychoanalyze why people want to be what they want to be. A pathfinder would be, I'm thinking of a herd of buffalo immediately, would be often a lead cow that knows the old routes and knows where the good grazing is and where the good water holes are, and that leads the group. I certainly have been a pathfinder many times for people going on safari, going on hiking safaris. Walking trails are fantastic, guys. Walking in the bush, it just takes your senses to the next level, and the experience is beautiful. So yeah, a pathfinder, that's quite cool. Hey, who's that? Maybe that's little VM and Brian, or maybe we had a Scott and a Peter this morning as well. We've got a whole Wild Earth family of wildebeest being born. But I will forever see baby wildebeest and think of VM and Brian. The first experience we had was something very special for me. They're having a run around, it's nice and cool. It's not heavy right now. I was going to ask actually, since it's not raining that heavy, keep in mind it's quite wet around us now. We had a bit of a heavy storm earlier. I was thinking of maybe making a fire, but I don't want to make that call. Will and them directing could make that call, but I know the certain way to make the call and to get the result that you guys want would be to get a little bit of voting in. So I'm not talking about making fire like the bush. I'm talking about making fire in the circle of stones in front of you, which was made for making fire. So if you think we should make a little fire, let us know, and I'll see what we can do. It is getting towards sunset. It's lovely having the animals down there. I'm happy where I'm standing now. And I'm very happy that we can be doing this and sharing this with you. Not to go into that sort of approach to things, but I've said this often, I will say this hopefully many times in my life still to come. What we're doing right now for me is such a cool thing. It is such an amazing thing to be able to share this moment as it's happening, as that wildebeest is lifting its head up, as the zebra is swishing his tail to chase the odd fly. This is something really amazing to do. And I'm so honored and so happy and so privileged to be part of it. I think we're going to be having quite a bit of rain tonight still. Still a bit of rolling thunder in the background. Look at that lovely mix of animals. Wildebeest, zebra, impala, all coming out into the open. For the moment the rain has subsided, there's the odd drop falling. We've just been talking the last few minutes about, well, I was just saying how amazing it is to be out here. You know, just whenever I just stop and really just sort of stand back and look as if from outside at this, I am, as I said just now, I'm so privileged and so honored and just, you know, super happy to be part of this. To be able to share this moment, little baby impala running around that was only born a couple of days ago, and to have people from around the world interested and passionate about wildlife, interested and passionate about Africa, is something that is just beyond words to describe. And thank you very much for allowing me to be this part of it. I've always loved this aspect of wildlife. I love the adventure of it. I love 4x4s and adventure and looking for things. So this is very exciting for me. And I'm really happy that we can be standing out here. Great view around us, bit of wildlife. I was saying just now, it looks like more rain tonight. The sort of thunder was booming away to the south of us. And if I look to the south, I have to sort of step around the tarp cover, the tarpaulin cover we've got here. Still lightning every now and again. I'm sure you can see the flashes. I think we're going to have rain on and off tonight. And we were also discussing maybe making a little fire. But we need some votes for that to say whether we should or not. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Oh, that female is still very pregnant. The right hand side there one, obviously she has a little lamb already, but the middle one there, just sort of in line with the zebra, she's heavily pregnant. She's going to have a lamb, I would guess, tonight. That's how far she looks. I saw HT driving past just now, heading back to the control room area, and he's back. They are standing by to answer some questions from his side. And we will see you back here in a little bit. If anything happens, if something joins these impalas, if something alerts them, maybe there's a little cat stalking around here somewhere. We've got a great, almost 360 view around us here. We're going to keep our eyes and ears wide open. Enjoy the chat with HT. And someone was asking about what is a civet in their habits. HT will give you a bit more on that as well, I'm sure. And for now, enjoy that side. We'll keep an eye out and get you back here shortly.
Hi folks, again caught by the rain, but we made a plan, and I know you've been talking to Pete, which is fantastic. He's got his fantastic rain cover up there that he's put a lot of work into, and it looks really great, but it just depends on the weather conditions and where the rain blows in the side. So we've also got a plan B, which is under here, and of course the dulcet tones of the generator out the back supplying us with electricity to be able to broadcast this to you live from Sabi Sands in South Africa. The reason for that is we've had a power cut, and if there's no power, there's no signal, and we have no way of transmitting. So I do apologise about the background noise, but I'll speak up. I've learnt to project over many, many years, and hopefully that's going to come through today. So we've got questions coming through on my phone here. I'll occasionally look down to them. I'll have to double check. We're just using that as a form of getting questions to me. I've got my earpiece out because I'm sitting away from the vehicle. Recap what animal you would like to be and why. Wow, that's a bit of a hard one really, folks. There's so many different qualities of animals that I'd like to be. If it comes to that sort of adaptation or adaptability of any of the cats, it's the leopard, of course. I just love everything about them. I love how they can feed on so many different things and survive in so many different habitats, and just the way that they move, and everything about them is so slick and a little bit different to me. So I would love to gain some of that grace and slickness in my life. African animals, well, you could say an African animal in a way, I suppose. It's not very often you would see orcas, but I think that that apex predator of the ocean, killer whales or orcas, are an incredible creature, and I've always been fascinated with them. But probably the African animal I would like to be is a leopard. Now, obviously, they don't have the same lifespan as a human being, so you would be on the planet for a little bit shorter time. But hey ho, that's not really a big deal when you're an apex predator, I suppose. I've worked with a lot of animals in Africa. I've worked with also animals that don't occur in South Africa, primates like chimpanzees and gorillas, extraordinary creatures to work with in captivity and in the wild. And I've had the great privilege of working with chimpanzees in Uganda on a program that was also, pardon me, coordinated with the zoological institution that I work for in Taronga Zoo in Sydney. So that was an incredible experience. I had left the zoo and I'd moved to Africa for good, really. That was it for me. I was coming here to stay, and I ended up journeying from, after spending a lot of time based in Zimbabwe, I journeyed up to do a project with a great friend of mine in Uganda, Debbie Cox, and a couple other great zookeepers that I work with, Jane Burgess and a few other people. But the point of the story was that I got to translocate some very, very important animals that had been in captivity for a very long time under quite harsh conditions out to an island sanctuary in Uganda, and that's called Ngamba Island. And that was a pretty extraordinary experience to get to know chimpanzees that closely in a semi-wild situation. So that was quite extraordinary experience. I'll never ever forget that. Down in South Africa, when I did travel here for the first time, I travelled to Kruger National Park, which is very, very close to where we are right now. And that first entry to going through the top gate, I remember the name of it was Punda Maria, the Punda Maria Gate, and I drove in there and I just felt like all my Christmases had come at once. I was in one of the most incredible national parks in the world. And now that Kruger's borders are open with the Sabi Sands, you know, everyone benefits from that, Kruger and Sabi Sands. So an incredible array of animals have been coming into my life through Africa, but if I had to cut down to the animal that I'd love to come back as or be, it would be a leopard. So I've got a couple of other questions here I'm just going to read. Question from Callan in Pretoria. Fantastic, Callan. Hello to you. I feel like I could throw a stone and we'd probably hit your roof from here. Not really, but what is the average rainfall in the area? The average rainfall in this particular area is about 800 millimeters, which is about 36 inches, I think, just under 36 inches, about 34 inches of rain in this area, and we definitely copped a bit of that today. The rain frequency is starting to become a little bit more on our heads at the moment, so to speak. It really does feel like it's going to rain for a little bit, and then we're going to have a dry spell. So we just have to keep dodging that rain. It's a natural thing. We've got plans in place, and we will definitely do our best to make sure we still bring chats to you and questions and let you know that this is the real deal. It always is a little bit sort of frantic to get back to where we are, but we do it for a very, very special reasons, because connecting with you is what this is all about. This is Safari Live, and when a safari does happen at a lodge anywhere, if it was coming down very, very heavily, they would scoot back to the lodge anyway. So we do exactly the same, really, except we go under corrugated iron and a Jenny in the back. But you know what? That's what it's all about. So I've got another question here from Laura on Twitter. What's my most amazing and memorable big cat experience? Wow. Well, Laura, there's a couple that have happened in the last few days that I have to tell you. I'll tell you a couple if that's okay, because leopard have always been one of my favourite cats to view and to follow, and you always hope that you'll have an incredible experience. The one that stands out for me here was that first day with quarantine, the quarantine male. When VM and I was a bit nervous. I was a bit nervous driving out for the first time, and I just wanted to make sure we did everything right for you, and I didn't take you down the wrong road or get lost, you know. So when we came around, we did that block, and I thought I'll do that block again just to be safe, so I know where I'm going and start to talk to you and get to know me. I came down that little drainage line. I'm sorry, that little Philemon's dip there, and VM and I both looked at the same time, and there was Quarantine lying on that cool sand. I'll never forget that vision of that relaxed, habituated sort of cat that really does show you, again, as I always say, how familiar the cats are here with humans and vehicles. So when we saw him, he sort of just sat for a bit with us, and then he started to move up into the vegetation and then walk along the top of the drainage line, and we followed him on the road, and then he sort of dipped down into the drainage line again, and I didn't really want to go down there because it was a big drop, so I thought we'd wait out for him to come down the other side, and he never came out. So we did a bit of a look around and everything, and then we came back up the road, and as we were coming up the road, sure enough, he was walking towards us. Now when that cat walked towards me, I thought he was going to make a big wide berth around where we were, but no, he was walking literally 2 meters, less than 2 meters from my car, and I could have reached out and touched him. Of course I wouldn't, but it was the most beautiful thing to have him walk, and he just looked up, and he just looked, and he looked, and he walked past, and as if to say, yeah, okay. It was just a fantastic experience, and I'll never forget that. So that's probably my sort of the sweetest experience I've had here right from the beginning. And then there's been loads and loads of others, of course, as you've seen, if you've been with us. The line kill that VM found, for me to be amongst those lines, surrounded by that pride, right in front of their kill and their buffalo kill, and for them to let us do that and show no real signs. There's a couple of times that one of the females was just like, okay, that's enough. She gave us the look, and that line look is right piercing. It goes straight to the back of your skull, and I just said, sure, we'll just sit here, completely fine. We stayed very, very still, and they were absolutely fine. But that was a very memorable experience. To have that access to those animals and be around them for that long was a memory that I'll never forget. I've seen many a line sort of situation like that around a kill, but they've been way off the road or something like that. We've never been able to get that close, and you're always watching through binoculars, and this time it was like binoculars would have been too close for us. You wouldn't have been able to see it. They would have been out of focus. They were so close. They were, again, 2 meters from the vehicle and incredibly tolerant and habituated. Very, very beautiful to be around. If I want to give you another one, I just want VM just to pan across for a second and have a little look outside at that beautiful, beautiful, that color in that sky, guys. It's just another astounding sort of sunset dusk picture there. Just a short little glance at what is out the corner of my eye, and I like to make sure you guys know exactly what's going on all around us. The wind's picking up a little bit. It feels like it is going to come back and really do give us another shower, but the smell of rain is in the air as well, which is quite beautiful, and it's definitely a little bit more on its way, which will add to the ambience with the generator and the rain on the roof, and you're going to have to really see my projection skills then. Another time I want to tell you about with leopard was when I had, there's a beautiful call there from the woodland kingfisher still. It was a time in Uganda when I had guests with me, some really fantastic friends now, Dorothy and Arthur, and we were in Uganda traveling together, and I was taking them through Uganda, and we just had a beautiful day. We were in Queen Elizabeth National Park in Uganda, and I bid them not farewell, but said, let's have a shower and let you guys go to your rooms, and then we'll meet back at the lodge in about half an hour. And as I said, drop their bags in their room with them and close the door, I went into my room and just started to get undressed before I put the light on, and I looked as there was a silhouette on my veranda, and it was a leopard. And I'm literally the closest to the dashboard of the vehicle away from me, but he couldn't see me because I didn't have the lights on. And I could see him, and he was just sniffing around on my veranda, and there was only a piece of glass between us, so it felt like you were right there as well. And he still didn't know I was there, and he was still sniffing around, and then he sort of sat for a little bit, and I ran next door and grabbed my friends shaving cream and towels around them, and they came in and they saw that leopard as well. So that was quite a fantastic experience. So you get all these great memories in your travels through Africa that you like to share with people, and hopefully they start to inspire people to look further and look deeper into Africa. And it's not all about cats, it's about so much more, and it's about the conservation that's going on behind the scenes, the fantastic scientists, the incredibly hard-working researchers and scientists and people that have got sanctuaries and all these different programs going on helping wildlife. But it's also, and I have to tell you this, it's not just about the wildlife, it's about the communities as well. The communities are just as important as the wildlife. And when you've got communities living right next door to wildlife, if they understand that they benefit from that wildlife in one way or another, you've suddenly got a win-win situation. So it's a very, very complex discussion, but I won't go any further than that. But I just want to let you know that the communities and the people in Africa are just as important as the wildlife. When you start to work that plan out and start to try and come to some form of understanding, you start to get some really, really great results. Okay, we've got another question from Scott in Illinois. Why have we not seen any monkeys or baboons? Fantastic, Scott. I did mention this the other day, but I'll definitely mention it again, and thanks for bringing it up. The two monkeys, or primates that we'll see here mostly are vervet monkeys and baboons. Okay. Now, over time, anytime you've got a human population that lives close by to a wild area, you'll find that some animals will start to look at that as an advantageous situation for them. Very, very intelligent creatures, primates as we all know. Vervet monkeys and baboons will definitely be a little bit, what's the word? They will invade humans' privacy a little bit and start to become a little bit of a pest. They have a tendency to steal food from your kitchen if you leave the doors open. Pete's had a baboon in his kitchen once before. He's told me a story. I've had a baboon in my kitchen when I lived in Zimbabwe. It's not a pretty ending, in the sense that the place is just completely destroyed. I had a few baboons in there, but there was one left in there that couldn't get out, so it was a bit of a dangerous situation as well. But my point is that they can have a tendency to be a little bit tedious at times when it comes to your camps and your lodges and stuff. So what has happened over a long period of time is people have scared them off or shooed them away. And sometimes you'll get into locations where you'll have a vervet monkey troop up in a tree browsing or feeding, but they normally move away a little bit quickly from the vehicles. Now, I've kept my eyes open for the last 4 weeks to try and get shots for you with VM of any vervet monkeys in trees, and they're out of there. They go up high in the trees, or they go along through vegetation, normally in drainage lines when we're there, and they basically are just a little silhouette off in the distance. So what we'll try and do is keep our eyes open for vervets and baboons. Definitely, they also have a history with humans that they might find in this area, not necessarily the reserve, but on the outskirts, a little bit tricky to be around. And what they will do is they'll start to congregate around human habitation and start to find that as an easy meal. So it's a tricky one, but occasionally you will see baboons out foraging through on the ground, walking in a troop. It happens occasionally, but sometimes when they hear the vehicle, they're gone as well. But Scott will definitely try and keep our eyes open there for you and everyone else that's asked. Okay, another question from Louise on Twitter. Are there any gorillas in the mountains we often see during in the background during driving? Well, Louise, those mountains, they are quite far away. They're nowhere near as high as the mountains that the gorillas live in, and the gorilla populations in Africa are mainly around equatorial Africa, up around Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, Democratic Republic of Congo, and that area and up. So you've got two gorillas, you've got the mountain gorillas, and you've got the three different two subspecies, the eastern lowland and the western lowland gorillas, but you've also got the mountain gorillas. And the mountain gorillas are probably the ones that you're referring to here, and they inhabit very, very particular vegetative areas or particular habitats. It's got to be a certain altitude, it's got to be a certain temperature for them. There's a couple of places in Uganda and on the borders of Rwanda that I go to regularly with my guests, and it's a very, very special experience, but we don't have any gorillas or chimpanzees occurring naturally in southern Africa. You start to get chimpanzee populations up in towards Tanzania, and yeah, there's nothing like that down here. But the gorillas that you're talking about inhabit montane rainforests up in around equatorial Africa. So when you do go there, it's not like you're in a hot rainforest all the time. I've been there where I've actually had a fleece on, a wet weather jacket and gloves. It's been so cold. But then the sun can come out and it can be boiling hot and the rain can come down and it just changes. But that forest, particularly the Bwindi impenetrable forest in Uganda, is an extraordinary place. It's an amazing place. But thank you for the question. From William in Derby, do you think Karula has cubs? Who knows? Who knows, William? I really, you know, it comes down to the point where her behaviour was interesting the last few days. She put that impala lamb up in the tree and didn't come back for a few days. So there's been a lot of speculation of what's going on. And if she does have cubs. We're not sure. We hope so. We'd love to have cubs, of course. It would be just the most fantastic thing to have some cubs to show you over the next couple of months. But we're not really sure. We're definitely keeping a close eye. I have to say, William, this little pocket, she could have just been laying down in one of those little thickets. I didn't drive through. Here comes the rain, folks. There's a little bit more noise to test me. But please try and stay with us, and I'll try and project as much as I can. She could have been just hiding in that and we wouldn't have seen her, and that's why I also didn't, with that in mind, potentially if there was cubs, I just didn't want to put too much pressure on that area. So we pulled back and really waited for her to come back, and because there's so much extension of the people passing and people's eyes on there, we knew that we'd hear from her pretty shortly, or hear about her, which we did last night. Okay, a question from Savannah on Twitter. Have you ever seen a white lion in the wild? Savannah, I'm just trying to remember the name of the place. It was in South Africa. It was many, many moons ago. There was a place, Savannah. I'm getting old now. I'm forgetting my places, but there was a place where I went to years ago, and because I do travel through so many African countries, it all starts to become one big continent. Will's yelling out to me, Timbavati. It actually wasn't. It was a private reserve where they were introduced back into, mate. And I'm not sure, but I know in Timbavati they do occur. I've never seen one in Timbavati, which is very, very close to here. But there was a sanctuary type of a setup I went to years ago where they were introduced, and I just cannot remember the name for it. Savannah, let me come back to you on that one, and I promise you, I know that you're a regular person on the back of our vehicle, and I'll definitely try and remember or look up where it was and have a chat to you about that. But they were quite spectacular, quite an incredible thing to see. I have seen the opposite side to it, which is called melanism, which is when an animal, you get the black versions of different animals, and a couple of different antelope. I've seen a duiker, completely black duiker, and there was also I'm sure it was an impala, but it was in East Africa, and it was a very, very striking. It's a long, long time ago as well, back in the early 90s when I was up there. But you do get these strange occurrences, particularly the genetic lines having a bit of a mishmash. I think I did tell a story ever so quickly the other day in Namibia where I found that zebra that's got no stripes on it whatsoever, but nearly spots in a black saddle. And that's quite an extraordinary thing that never seen that before. But I took a photograph of it, and if I can find that photograph, I'll definitely put it on my phone and try and show you guys as soon as I can. Right, we've got another question from Darren in New York City. Darren, I love your city. I love your city. Why are there more frogs after the rain? Frogs get stimulated by the moisture, and they come out to either breed or it's a bit of a stimulative thing that they know there's going to be pools of water. It triggers something in their system to say come out, and frogs meet other frogs and do what frogs do to make other frogs. And the rain stimulates that because they're going to know there's places for them to put their beautiful eggs in, and have those eggs hatch into tadpoles, and the cycle goes on. But it's a real stimulative thing. The rain stimulates that within the frog cycle, and that's exactly why it happens. Okay, we're still I'll just wait for some more questions and just have a little chat about the guys, which I think is also really important to learn a little bit about, because behind the scenes, as I always say, it's as important as the front of the vehicle. VM with me right now behind camera, who is, you know, a fantastic fella to have with me, because he's not only is he a great guy, but he's also got a great set of eyes that he can see things from that position, and he's spotted so many things for us guys, and I take my hat off to that every single time. And then Brian with Pete. Brian's like an absolutely sensational fella, and keeps us entertained. He's a great cameraman, and really lovely to have around the fire as well. We have great chats around the fire at night, which will be coming to you soon. Not on a night like tonight, but we do have a couple of practice ones ready for you, and then there's going to be a couple through Big Cat Week as well. So they are coming. We've just got to find the right night for it, because if we set it all up out there, we're going to be running for cover with all the equipment. It's a real tricky one, but we will do it, and you can have a really nice chat with us around the fire, which is something special. Sitting around a fire for me is probably one of the best places in the world at night, and we definitely tell some stories there, like happened last night around the fire, which I'm sure we can share some of them with you. I've got Clown Sharon on Twitter. Hi Sharon, Clown Sharon. What are hyenas related to? Well, hyenas are actually in their own little family or group, Hyenidae, and there's all these questions about whether they're more cat-like than dog-like. They're definitely in a family of their own. So the research and the science has shown that they're actually more related to cats than they are dogs. They've got a bit of a rough trot, the old hyenas. When the Victorian naturalists first discovered hyenas and started to document them, they couldn't see any female hyenas. The story goes that they couldn't see any female hyenas, and that is because the female hyenas have that male-looking genitalia as well, and they couldn't see any, and then they thought that there was just a male population. There was all this sort of questioning going around in the naturalist world, and then they thought that hyenas were hermaphroditic, basically, that they could impregnate themselves, and then they got this awful reputation within the sort of Victorian times as something not to be talked about, basically. And then they did a bit more research, and they found out that that genitalia was on the females, actually, not just the males. So they had a reputation that started to gather from those times, and I really do want to try and make sure people realise that those animals are so interesting and so beautiful to watch, and an incredible social structure. And they're in a family all of their own, Sharon, so they're probably more related to, scientists think, to cats than they are dogs, but they're a very, very special creature, and I really do love watching them. Tim in Sydney. Hello Tim, nice to have you with us, mate. How fantastic is that? What time must it be there? Goodness, about 6 o'clock in the morning, mate. Fantastic to have you on board, Tim. That's fantastic to hear your question. Have you seen any scorpions recently? Funny you say it. Last night we found a lovely little scorpion right in our camp, and Scott gave us a really, really great little talk about scorpions. He's right into scorpions, and picked it up as well by its stinger on its tail there, and picked it up, and it was very, very relaxed, really. Put it in his hands and showed us loads about it. He's so knowledgeable about invertebrates, which is a great skill to have. So that was a really lovely thing. Maybe next time, if you're watching, Tim, and Scott's driving, ask him a little bit about scorpions. But We haven't seen a lot out, but last night was the first one I'd seen actually walking out hunting, and it was great to see. Andrew in Cape Town. Hello, Andrew. Fantastic to be in your country, mate. If zebra are related to horses, why have they never been domesticated? Well, there's been several times where they've been tried, Andrew. They've tried to domesticate them. Their body structure doesn't really, their spinal area and their back doesn't really support the weight of a human. They've been tried to be domesticated. There's loads of historic photographs showing people riding zebras. They're not the same sort of psyche as or temperament as a wild horse. You know what, Andrew? I suppose if you tried to do that over 100 years, 1,000 years, or something like that, you might get somewhere. But I think it has been done over a very, very short period of time, and it's never been successful. I think there's an occasional couple of individuals that might have been hand-reared, where they did train them, and you might have been able to put a child on them, but it's just never been the done thing. So it's been tried, but very, very unsuccessful, and maybe we're lucky for that. Okay, we've got another question. Thank you very much, Andrew. Great, as I said, to be in your country. Florence from Ottawa. What is the giraffe's best sense? Their best sense is their sense of sight, Florence, and that's without a doubt. I'm just going to have a quick drink, Florence, so I'm just a bit dry. Excuse me. Florence, their sense of sight is their best sense, and they will use that to see, obviously, very, very long distances. And after that, it's probably their sense of hearing and their sense of smell. But being up that high, their sense of smell would be a little less than their sense of hearing and their sense of sight. They're very nervous giraffes. They can move around, but they can move around quite confidently, and when they get used to, but they only have to get a little fright from even another animal that's not a threat to them, and they'll all start to canter away. I've been in some camps in Africa where I've been sitting out on my veranda at night, or I've been sitting next to the fire, and it's been in a rocky area, pardon me, and they've been walking through to a waterhole that I've been staying close to, and you can hear these massive sort of clomping feet coming through and tripping over rocks and things like that and stopping. It's very, very hard to tell what it is at first, and then sure enough, you see this giraffe very, very nervous getting to the water point. So their best sense of sight is their sense of, the best sense is sense of sight, and next their sense of hearing, and then their sense of speed. Hello, fella.
How's it going?
All right, mate.
Very good. Sorry, I just thought I'll say hello.
Good.
Check with you if I may, but
nice.
You look nice and dry.
I wasn't before, mate. I got my gear off.
It's a big rain now.
We got caught out there as well, over on Arathusa. Diem and I were underneath the covers. We had the tarp all over us, just sitting underneath it there, and then we made it way back a little bit. Then we got it again over here. But fantastic.
I just wanted to say hello. Nice to have you back.
No worries, mate.
Enjoy it.
Great.
Asking difficult questions.
Pete, so nice to have Pete here. Made really, really great friendship, and yeah, it's going to last for a long time. Okay, I'm just looking on my questions that have come through. Gerda on Twitter, how often do termites emerge like we saw the other night? Gerda, normally those first rains will make termites emerge, but it can happen again. And as I think I mentioned the other day, you might not have been watching, you might have, there's lots of different triggers for emergence. It's not always rain. It can be temperature in some countries with some particular species. Rain is very, very common. We may get another emergence, but it just depends on many, many things, and how dry period we get in between those rains. So we might get another one, which I hope we do, because it's spectacular to watch. And Pete got that great footage with Brian of the hyenas eating those termites. I told that little story the other day where I've been in another country, in Uganda, and I've seen humans actually harvesting the termites as well, because they're a great source of protein, as you could see with the hyenas. And what they would do is sprinkle water over with buckets or cups of water, throwing it out of a drum onto the termite mound, and then people playing drums and trying to get the vibration of the drums through the termite mound to emulate the sound of the rain hitting the termite mound. And sure enough, about 40 minutes later, these termites started to emerge, and then they just started. And there's something that triggers within the termite colony, and then these people just started to harvest them and took them away and cooked them up and eat them. And I tried some as well, which they're okay. They're okay, and they're a great source of protein. Okay, M. Alexander or Malexander in London. Hi mate, how you doing? Nice to have you on board. Do you think zoos are good or bad as a whole? Wow, great question. Absolutely great question. Something I talk about publicly a lot, and it's a very thing that's close to my heart. Like anything in the world, Alexander, you've got good and bad in everything. You've got it in TV, you've got it in politics, you've got it in food production, you've got it in law. It doesn't matter. In zoos, it's exactly the same thing. You've got extraordinary facilities, unbelievably well-managed facilities all over the world that bring people that will never ever be able to afford to go out and see their wildlife, or in their country or in another country, and give them an opportunity to have that first contact with an animal. Now, there's two different sides to this, and I'll sort of keep it reasonably succinct because it's a very big and wide conversation. You've got the management of zoos and what that is and how that is implemented, and you've got what it does for the community. So if I talk about the community first, have a think of the three words that are most important is conservation, education and recreation. And the conservation side of zoos that you don't see, that goes on behind the scenes, London Zoo, for a classic example where you are right now, puts incredible amounts of money back into the wild. There is conservation programs going on in most of the continents on the planet with London Zoo at the moment, as there is with all the good zoos around the world. If we go to the next one, education, most zoos as well have a very well set up and passionate education department that deliver really important messages to young people and older people alike throughout their life program. And that is something that stimulates that connection that we are going to be able to get into those young people's minds and make sure that they understand why everything around here and everything else in the world is so important. It doesn't matter if they're a conservationist or ecologist or an entomologist or whatever. If they're going to be a nurse or a doctor or a bricklayer or a plumber or a taxi driver, that doesn't matter either. As long as one has an understanding that the environment and the habitats and everything in it gives us so much that we take for granted. Now that sort of stuff is delivered in zoos. It's delivered in the education departments that we might not even have a chance to see on the outside watching television. But I'll tell you this for now, who was it? It was Malexander. Sorry, there's a lot of questions that just come through. I looked down, I apologise for your name there, mate. Really important to know that that happens behind the scenes under our very noses every single day. One of the things I do in the United Kingdom is I manage an education department in a wildlife trust there called the Surrey Wildlife Trust. And that education department, we deliver outdoor learning for about 15,000 children a year. And that sort of thing, if we get 1% of those 15,000 children that we get into their minds and they become scientists, we've done our job. If we get 1% of those 15,000 kids coming into our facilities and our forests there that have learnt something about their environment, we've done our job. And that's the same with zoos. Ever so quickly on that, mate, it's such a passionate thing in my heart. The management of zoos is the other thing. If the animals are behaviourally enriched, you've got good staff, you've got staff that are well looked after, that are well treated as well, and you've got passionate people working there. I guarantee you they're not doing it for the money. It's not one of the most highly paid professions. They're there for the love, they're there for their passion. If you've got those two scenarios happening, you've got a good zoo. Thanks for the question, mate. Really important. Right. Marisia on Twitter, have you ever seen an elephant birth in the wild? No, I haven't, Mauricia. Wow, what a beautiful thing that would be to see. They have a tendency to be a little bit less open than the wildebeest have, and some of the other animals we see. And if it's in that matriarch, and the whole herd will be very, very protective over that situation. I've never seen it. I would love to see it. It's definitely, I don't have a list, but if I did have a list, that would be one of the things where I think you would feel like you've won the lottery. It's just the most incredible incredible thing to see. But goodness me, maybe you've sprinkled a bit of magic over Safari Live, Mauricia, and that might happen. I don't know, but goodness, wouldn't that be sensational? Kim on Twitter, how many line prides are there in the area? There is about 2 main ones, Styx and Nukahuma, but there's a couple of breakaway prides going on at the moment which everyone's trying to get their heads around. We're seeing males break off, and it's a very complex situation there, Kim, but we'll definitely make an effort to, when we get up to a pride, try and put some of those pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together for you. But great question, thank you very much for that, Kim on Twitter. James on Twitter, have you seen any bush pigs? No, I haven't. I haven't seen any bush pigs, James, and definitely keep our eyes open, that's for sure. Someone, I think, asked a question about giant forest hogs as well a while back, and I don't think we actually got a chance to talk about it. But giant forest hogs don't occur in this area. They are the largest swine, or in the pig family. They're an incredible size, and I've seen them in Uganda up close and personal when I've been walking there, and they are like something you've never seen. Giant forest hogs, nearly up to your hip, up to my hip height, and oh wow, amazing. But James, I haven't seen any here. Casey in New York City. I love New York, Casey. Do any animals prey on giraffe? Well, they do. I always talk about those things as exceptions to the rules, you know. You'll read the books, you'll read all the books, and you'll hear all the stories, and you'll talk to all the scientists, but the scientists will tell you, as will a lot of safari guides, things that they've seen that you just do not expect. I have seen some photographs, and I'm pretty sure it was in Kruger, of a leopard taking a young giraffe, but the giraffe was a size that I just couldn't believe, and the leopard, it must have been bending down, drinking or something like that, and the leopard actually jumped up and had it by the throat. But then the giraffe pulled its head up, and the leopard was hanging off. It was an incredible thing to see, but it was only still photographs. Excuse me. That would be a very, very rare situation, Casey, but lion would definitely take down giraffe. Now, when I say that, not an adult male or an adult female, probably, excuse me, but more likely a youngster. The mothers and the males will be fiercely protective. They will kick out with all legs, as I've said before, in all directions, not at the same time, and they will fiercely protect, and those blows from a giraffe leg are something to behold. So they will take youngsters if they can, but at a water point there's potential that a giraffe could be taken by a big pride. What could happen as well, it could run and try and get away, and then if it lost its footing and the animals pushed it into a very, very unstable area, it could fall, and then that situation could unfold, as we can imagine. The other thing is, giraffes only lie down for short periods, but when a giraffe is lying down, if you think about excuse me, a male lion on average, you know, can get up to about 200 kilograms. What's that in pounds? I'll have to check that for you. But big, jumping on a giraffe's neck while it was lying down, it could potentially happen. It doesn't happen very often. I haven't seen it happen live. I've seen lions on a giraffe kill. Who knows, that giraffe might have died of natural causes. It might have been struck by lightning. You just don't know. There's so many different things, and piecing together that sort of crime scene investigation is one of the things we love to try and figure out. But great question. Excuse me. From Peter in FCC. Oh, from Peter Pretorius. I've got a question from Peter Pretorius in FCC. What's the most amazing zoo moment you've experienced? One that comes straight to mind. The first one that comes straight to mind is watching the birth of a giraffe as I walked into work at 6 o'clock in the morning and seeing the mother giraffe standing there, much like we saw the wildebeest hooves sticking out from the mother, seeing those legs sticking out from the mother, and just going, my goodness, this is going to happen in front of our very eyes. And we waited very similarly like we waited with the wildebeest. And we waited and we waited and we waited, and it gave birth. Now, she gives birth to the calf standing up, which is pretty incredible. That's a 2 meter or 6 feet drop to the ground. That breaks the amniotic sac and the umbilical cord from the calf. She then bends down and starts to clean the calf and remove the amniotic sac from the calf. And eventually, probably it was about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the calf got to its feet, and for some unknown reason, she rejected the calf. She started to kick out at it, and we intervened. So because it was a captive mammal situation, we intervened and we removed that youngster from the giraffe enclosure, and I was the dad. I was the dad with another 3 people, and they were fantastic people. Frank, Glenn, Anthony, and also Libby. There was 5 of us, and then we used to do shifts, but as the animal got older, it honed it down to a couple of us, and we were feeding that giraffe from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, and it was drinking 15 litres, which is about 9 pints of milk a day. I think that's right. No, more than that. No, more than that. What's that? 600 millilitres is a pint. So yeah, maybe about 20 something pints a day. Giraffe. And they're like, what? And I'd say, yeah, come back. And they'd go and feed the giraffe. So that was an incredible thing. Okay, ever so quickly, Chris on Twitter, what animals are the best for alerting for predators? A lot of the antelope have got amazing alert calls. All the antelopes, some have got high-pitched squeals, others got really big snorts. A lot of the birds as well give fantastic alarm calls, and they all interact together, and they all know those alarm calls. A really good question, Chris. Jessica on Twitter, what's the most fascinating animal you've seen in the Twitter? What's the most fascinating animal you've seen in the wild? Two. He's probably going to give me a wind down. I'm just looking across to, I've got 3 minutes to go. So at the moment I'm getting little fingers going up, and I'm probably going to get a countdown, folks. So I'm going to wind up now and say thanks so much for sticking with us tonight, and all Pete's fantastic work with all the amazing canvas and things that he's put up out in the middle of the quarantine area up there, and he's a fantastic guy to be around. A brilliant day for Scott today, and welcome aboard. We're really looking forward to Mark coming as well, and just Scott's going to be teamed up with Mark after Pete and I finish. It's going to be a bit of a sad day, but great thing to pass on to these guys. And Mark's been here many times before. I know everyone knows Mark, and Scott's just going to be sensational as well, and we're really looking forward to that. So I'm going to just wind up by saying thank you very, very much for sticking with us, and thanks to VM, thanks to Brian and all the team that have gotten us through today. I've got about 2 minutes to go, and it's just been a great pleasure to be with you. You see it, oh, here he is, that's what I like to say.
And that one?
Hey, Scott, that's nice. Come in, mate, come in. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
A rose between 2 thorns. Hey? Isn't that fantastic? This is the first time we've been together, guys.
It is,
Come on,
it is.
That's great.
It's been a great day. Love the rain.
Yeah.
As much as it brings some tricky things for us, but it's always lovely in the bush. And I love listening to some of your insights. This man has got so much experience, you know.
I tell you, I just talk for fun. It's great. We're going to be out to
it is fun, yes.
talk for fun.
Cool.
We've had a great day, guys, and it's just great to have you on board, mate.
Thanks very much.
Thanks
very much.
No, definitely.
And
Really
hopefully
cool.
some good weather tomorrow. Beautiful crisp morning.
Yeah.
After the rain is something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, always looks beautiful, guys. How many minutes have we got, VM? 1 minute, 60 seconds, guys. What do you think was the best thing for you today?
Well, I think we put a little bit than 1 minute 60 seconds. For me, the best thing today was the rain.
Yeah.
The rain was awesome, and the sighting sitting under the tent up there with the view and the animals walking onto quarantine was beautiful. Really nice having Scott on drive. That was one of the highlights as well. He's a nice guy. It's nice to have a nice guy here, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry?
And yeah, well, I mean, finally. and also there's a bit of a generation thing going on here. There's 10 years difference between each of us. So yeah, you know, 20, 30, 40, something like that. So guys, no, just I'm the joker. So it's been a great day, Scott.
Absolutely fantastic.
has,
Yeah,
it
magic stuff.
Yeah.
What was your highlight today, mate?
Definitely the wildebeest giving birth.
Yeah.
For me it was the first time, and after spending all these years in the bush and finally seeing it today on my first drive.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Good first time.
First time.
Oh,
So
brilliant.
It couldn't have gone any better.
We're going to go, guys. We'll see you soon, eh? See you
Cheers.
tomorrow,
See you
6
tomorrow.
o'clock.
That was lekker, man.
Nice one, guys.